Hello, everybody. It is Rocco, your boy, coming at you once again with another Age of Sigmar video. In this video, we are going to be answering a viewer question from our last video. We got a few, which is great. So I've got content for a little bit now. And there were three questions about three different armies. And the first one is going to be the one that I've most recently played, my Stormcast Eternals. We are here in Tabletop Simulator because you don't want to see the state of my office for me to pull out my actual models, and this will be a lot cleaner, I promise. Um, though, if you want to go look at the colors and stuff, my guys are Lions of Sigmar. So think Hammers of Sigmar, right? Like the base models, but where there's blue, there's purple. That's how I painted my army. It's Screamer pink. It's like a magenta. But anyway, back to the video here. This is also the list I'm currently using in a friend's tabletop simulator tournament called Release the Beast. I think. I don't know. It might be one of the butchers events as well that I'm using it in a few things, and I also play in person with it. It's a lot of fun. It's a really kind of a how like in the spectrum of there's like Johnny, Timmy, Spike, where like Spike, it's that profile of like you got to be really competitive and you got to win. Johnny is look at my cool combos I've made up to win, and Timmy's like big freaking monsters. Love them. Here's my one cool thing that I love. That's the psychographic profiles, very summarized up, that people use for Magic the Gathering, Age of Sigmar, war games in general, card games in general. How do you construct your lists, your decks, whatever. This can at times click all three, which is very great for me. And it's a lot of fun to play. It is a melee version of Stormcast. There are two shooting attacks in the whole army, which is off of Gardas Steel Soul, because this is a Hallowed Knights list, and our boy here with the superhero landing, zoom in on him, has a shooting attack, and then Karazai the Scarred, big angry murder dragon, does have dragon breath, which is great. Now, there are several versions of this list that have done very good at tournaments in the past. I will say you need to like and subscribe to this video if you haven't already. You know, leave a comment for more stuff you want for us to cover. Yeah, I did it in the middle of the video, not the end. So ha. Um, but seriously, in this current General's Handbook, it is a little bit hard. Even Stormcast points keep going down. Stormcast has one of the worst winning percentages in the game right now. This new General's Handbook has not been kind to us, even though we just got a new battle tactic that I can pull up for me here, which is because it's silly. It's called Secure the Battlefield, where you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if there are any friendly Stormcast Eternal units wholly within each large quarter of the battlefield and more than 6 inches away from all enemy units. This is the other reason why we can do this here. So quarters, we literally go down the line and go down the line. So you need a unit here, a unit here, and a unit here. And they can't be within 6 inches of enemy units. So nothing in combat, nothing crazy. And for Stormcast that are known for being slow, that's it. They're known for being slow. That is very hard to do. And if you're using the Stormcast that can deep strike, because in our allegiance abilities we have two forms. You've got Stormkeep, which is the guys that walk gals that walk around on foot. They've already been summoned into the realms. They're here fighting alongside, namely the cities of Sigmar, or the Scions of the Storm, which is when they hot drop in to battlefields to fight and get summoned into the realms, which opens up deep striking. You don't want to waste your deep striking on doing a battle tactic because your army is so elite, you need them always in combat and fighting, or always doing something. And if you're what I am, which is Stormkeep here, for a very important reason, you do not want to have to move around the board. You want to stay in your castle, stay in your objectives. You're not trying to necessarily push deep into enemy territory. So it's a great battle tactic for people who build for it. Maybe with like if you go like Vanguard units, like Vanguard hunters that can teleport or Paladors. Um, but it's not totally feasible. And with this army, I am gosh, how many drops am I? Well, let's start off with I'm Hallowed Knights, right? Let's just start off at the beginning. I'm Hallowed Knights. What does that actually give me as Hallowed Knights, right? Let me pull up my notes. I will tell you. Because first, I am Storm Keep as my right is Stormcast, which gives me I get the good coalition rules where 1 in 4 units in my army can be Cities of Sigmar. And I will tell you, once the rest of Cities of Sigmar drop with the new units, then the new War Priest lady is going to probably be in this list in some form or another just to drop mortal wounds on everybody. But she's not out yet. Uh, and we also get the rule Shield of Civilization, which is the in the first and second battle rounds, any Stormkeep Redeemer keyword unit, which are generally like the basic infantry models. I have like Vindictors are Redeemers and Sequitors are Redeemers in this list. They count on objectives that are wholly or partially in your territory as 3 models each. So I could have my Sequitors unit of 5 count as 15 models on a friendly objective in home turf. From round 3 on, every objective they count as 3 models per. So one of the tech pieces with this army and this build is I tech into Redeemers, and then all of a sudden 15 models count as 45 for me on an objective. And my extremely elite Stormcast, with their hard to kill infantry, all of a sudden let me play the objective game, which is something normally you just don't get to do in Stormcast. Also, a thing that I forget every time, when an enemy unit charges um, a unit of yours that's a Redeemer that's guarding an objective, on a 3-up, the enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Forget it every single time. My last game I just played against Skaven recently, it actually would have mattered for all the charges that happened. Um, it's just a rule you just forget. Unfortunately, I've played this game since the beginning of second edition, so 5-ish years, and I'm still forgetting rules like that. Even as I read it out loud to double check myself. The the thing with Stormcast in general too is it is not beginner friendly to play. It's beginner friendly to paint, which is why Games Workshop has Stormcast out everywhere. You can paint a beautiful Stormcast army very easily because they're built like the Space Marines from 40K, where they're just specifically made to be easy to paint. They are very hard to play, and that's okay because once you get in the groove and you're hitting what you need to hit throughout the game, you will feel amazing. But if you sometimes say have a unit die to the wound and you needed them to live on that one wound for your whole plan to stay together, you're gonna feel a little bit rough. That everything just comes immediately tumbling down. Now with Hallowed Knights, what that gives me is one, I get to have Gardas in my army because he is Hallowed Knight keyworded. He is the Hallowed Knight. There's also a wonderful book. It's called Plague Garden. There's a book that features Gardas after the Realm Gate War. Well, I guess during the Realm Gate Wars, where he gets sucked into the realm of Nurgle and fights his way out. There's also a Dawnbringer short, a Fort Gardas, that just came out. That our boy ended up being a hero, but you should read that on the GW community website. But the Hallowed Knight battle trait is only the faithful, where if a friendly Hallowed Knight Redeemer model is slain within 3 inches of any enemy units, anytime the thing dies, roll a dice on a 4-up, that model can fight before it's removed from play. So that goes with these Redeemers again. So we just There's a version of this list where you just have a bunch of Vindictors and Sequitors and Liberators and Vanquishers that are all Redeemers. You just have like 10 units of 5 models just so you can have board control. That's a valid way to play this. That's not what we're here for today, but that's a valid way to play. Also, Gardas has a similar ability, but when he dies, he fights on a 2 up. And we can just get into him right now. So Gardas' rules are he gives out an aura. Look at the important rules here. He gives out an aura of wholly within 12 inches. Units have a 5 up ward. So now these base 3 up save Vindictors also have a 5 up ward and become extremely hard to kill for 2 wound models. And I can send the Sequitors off to do their own thing because they have a built in 5 up ward in the combat phase. And when they. The other thing with this too is I take the Holy Command Call for Aid. What that is when one of these Redeemer units die, I can spend a command point and then summon in a brand new unit of them. So I functionally have 4 battle line units to do what I need to do. And they'll still call as the 3 bodies per model. They still get all those rules. It's very nice. Because there are times where I will go throw up the unit of Sequitors as a forward screen to kill something, and then they have in combat, zoom in on them for a bit, they have in combat where you can choose to either have the 5 up ward or they get exploding 6s to hit. So if they're already being affected by Gardas' ward, I just go for extra offense. I'm able to fit 3 of their special weapons. Pardon me. PD says hello. I can fit 3 of their special weapons into the unit. That is 2 attacks each. The leader that has the lime green base there gets an extra attack. So 7 attacks, 3s to 3s. So 3s to hit, 3s to wound, neg 1 rend, 2 damage. Some people like having the Sequitur leader with the other loadout that stops units from being able to return models to units if they're in combat with them. It's nice. It's not how I play the unit. Again, this isn't the typical build. This is what I think is fun. You also may be asking, Rocco, why are all your heroes over here and your units over here? So, for my list, I believe, 7 drops. I take several battalions. My first battalion is a Redemption Brotherhood. It is a Stormcast specific one. 6 units of Stormcast units can go in there and be a 1 drop. This allows me to put a bunch of my units as screens. I get to, deploy where I want to be. I am very much trying to hide where I put my Knight and Cantor that I have in the list and a bunch of my heroes for my opponent so they don't know how I'm fully trying to deploy. So then overloading them with 6 units I put down and be like, oh, where can they fit? Whatever. What are they doing? Get them thinking is great for me. And in this battalion, I've got a unit of Evocators and Dracolines that just dish. They very consistently do what feels like 20 damage, even when they whiff. They've got they're a wizard. They can put a spell on themselves with the Sequitors to give them +1 to wound. They reroll their charge rolls. The mounts have D3 damage. They're very easy to get on 2s and 2s, neg 1 rend, and then all the damage that gets spewed out. They do mortal wounds as well. They're very solid. You have to watch out for that Wizard Finder battalion, but not enough people really seem to be taking it to really matter. We've got a Storm Strike Chariot for the impact hits. It's a pinning piece. I know the model is shown on here with the bow. I give it the spear instead for the extra melee oomph because what I want it to do is charge into someone, be on, it's a 3 up base save. I give it all out defense to make it a 2 up. It's -1 to be hit when it charges in. It'll guarantee me being in there generally for 2 rounds of combat to keep whatever I need in place. And if it kills stuff with its mortal wound impact, the more the better. It's great for bracketing monsters. It's great for setting up another Stormcast battle tactic That is called No Challenge Too Great. You complete this battle tactic if an enemy hero is slain by wounds caused by an attack made by a melee weapon by a friendly Redeemer unit during this turn. I have a bunch of Redeemer units, and sometimes the impact hit on the chariot is just what I need to set up putting an enemy hero in range to be killed by my basic infantry. It's nice. Also, it's a great screen. It's a big base, takes up a lot of room. And then I've got a unit of Aether Wings. They are 70 points. They are no armor save, 2 wounds apiece. They are annoying to kill. They fly. They move ahead of the army. They allow me to try to score the new secure the battlefield. They are a cheap throwaway unit that I don't necessarily care for to be in my army because it can die. Sometimes you need screens like that you're like, cool, if you die, you die. That's fine. Also, the surround and destroy battle tactic is doable with them because they're fast. They are fast with a 12-inch move. Drac Alliance have a 12-inch move. Chariot has a 12-inch move. We're going pretty far here. That's the first half of my army. And then, as I deploy it, we've got Karazai the Scarred, who is an amazing melee beatstick. We've got a Knight and Canner that has the spell Lightning Blast to be a long range artillery piece for me. It goes off on a 5. It's D3 mortal wounds to the nearest enemy unit she can see. So this is a table wide ability. As long as she can see the model, she can zap them. But the important part for the Knight and Canner is that she is a once per game automatic unbind. So as long as someone doesn't roll double sixes on primal dice to cast a spell, we can stop things from happening. This is protection from a spell portal. This is protection from Blizzard. This is stopping, uh, you know, different death frenzies. This is stopping extra, like the D3 units can do mortal wounds off of the Lumineth Realm Lords. It's very powerful. It's once per game. I almost wish I could fit 2 of them in this army just because it's just nice. Um, Next, I have my actual general, which is a given the Arcane Tome and a Master of Magic. I have here a Lord Castellan and his Noble Gryphound. I've actually painted mine in real life to look like my dog, and I did a conversion for my Lord Castellan, which is very nice with the flowy Galaxy Cape. Where the point of this model is it can, within 18 inches, pick a friendly unit and just give it +1 to save, and we start save stacking. And then with the Arcane Tome, I throw Mystic Shield on that unit as well. We're +2 to save. On units, I have a lot of units that are a 3-up base save, so making it functionally a 1-up save, or in other words, a 2-up save ignoring the first rend that comes at them, is amazing. Um, on the flip side, my general with the Master of Magic could also pick an enemy unit and on a 2-up do D3 mortal wounds to it. Sometimes you just need a bunch of Mystic Shields and a bunch of mortal wounds that Stormcast aren't necessarily known for doing to kill something. As an example, the Leviathan from Deepkin has a 2-up armor save. Sometimes you need a bunch of mortal wounds from the Dragon Breath, from him, from Lightning Blast, from impact hits from the Chariot, to be able to crack the shell and reduce it so that it's so wounded its armor save gets worse. You know? Then we've got Gardas, who we love. We've got, for my last tier... Oh, also with Master of Magic, the reason I'm still taking that is not everybody is generating a lot of primal dice, and sometimes someone will spend it all in one spell that having the reroll to unbind something is still really useful. Also, the reroll to casting, too, if you end up rolling a double ones. And, again, if we don't have a lot of primal dice, it still gives me a shot. Alright? And then my final hero is a Knight Heralder, which is a very weird choice, but I converted mine in 2nd edition, and I've loved it so much. It has won me many games. I know this is weird. His rule, he's a totem, but he has an ability, which is he picks a terrain piece wholly within 18 inches of him in the shooting phase, and then every enemy unit within 3 inches of that on a 2-up takes D3 mortal wounds. So, if you're noticing a pattern here, D3 mortal wounds, D3 mortal, and this is to every enemy unit. So D3 mortal wounds, D3 mortal wounds, mortal wound breath, can do D3 mortal wounds, impact hits, mortal wounds, mortal wounds, mortal wounds. My army can melt high armor save elite armies. This is what we do. We do have the damage to take out a Mega Guard in a turn. It is really interesting for that. And also, we can be very defensive. Now, the other thing with the Knight Heralder is it sucks at melee. It's got the standard profile. Three's to hit, three's to wound, negative 1, 2 damage, but not enough attacks to really write home about. Uh, and then we've got Karazai and these Praetors. Now, why are the Praetors here? Praetors have an interesting ability where what they do is they bond to a friendly hero, and if they are within 3 inches of that hero, you can pass wounds off to them. You do not get the 5-up ward save afterwards, but the Praetor ability is cool. On a 1 or a 2, the hero takes the wounds. A 3 to a 4, the Praetors take the wounds. A 5 to a 6, the wounds are just negated. So, and how this works is I really need this dragon to be alive, and I really need Gardas to be alive. So, they click onto someone at the start of the game, not in list building. So, if I need Gardas to be alive longer, Praetors, baby. But a lot of the time, especially if I'm giving away first turn, I will apply them to Karzai. So, because Karzai is really the linchpin of this army, and it's a lot of melee. It's also why they, with Gardas and the Heralder, are in a Warlord battalion. So, what this lets me do is get a second Holy Order. Right? The first one was summon a unit back from the dead. The second one that I pick is once per game, one of my units can run in charge, which is amazing for getting what I need into combat at the right time, whether it's my chariot or the Draco Lions or the big murder dragon. It just gives me tactical flexibility. And then my 2 wizards are in the what's it called, the Acolytes battalion, to try to fish to get me the Andorian Acolytes, to try to fish to get me extra primal dice, because I need them to stop unbinds way more than I need them to start doing my own spells. Like, if I get a Mystic Shield, that's great. Sure. Wonderful. Alright. D3 Mortal Wounds. I've got other ways to do Mortal Wounds as I've gone over. It's to stop the Mortal Wounds that mess up Stormcast armies, right? It's I need to keep Gardas alive with his 5-up ward. I need the Praetors to be alive to protect Karzai long enough for him to go out and murder everything. And let's also talk about this dragon here, because we've got bite attacks that are because we start off with 18 wounds. Movement is 14 inches. We got a decent shooting attack. That's mortal wounds. It depends on what you roll. It's like the regular Dragon Knights that scare everybody. But really, we're here for the melee, which is 6 attacks, 3's to hit. Starts off at a 1 to wound. Neg 3 rend, 3 damage. Ruinous Talons are 4 attacks, 3's and 3's, neg 2 rend, 2 damage. Then the Calamitous Tail, which is a 3-inch range, and you count this up by, when you select the model, you count however many enemy models are within 3 inches, and that's the attack characteristic, right? So what ends up happening there, which is really cool, is that if you run into a horde army that's got like 20 models in the unit, you get 20 attacks. If there's an enemy monster still in range, that's 21. Great, cool. You then do not have to attack the unit you got them from. That's just its attacks characteristic. You can allocate them however you want. Also, with this dragon, we don't start bracketing until 9 wounds taken, and so until we're half dead. We have the ability Ancient Master of War, which is -1 from the attacks characteristic of melee weapons that target the dragon. And then we have my favorite thing, the reason why this model is here and why it's my Timmy choice, but it can also be really good, is each time this unit destroys an enemy unit, you can apply the following relevant effect below. If the enemy unit that you killed was a hero or monster, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons used by this unit for the rest of the battle. It's an extra bite, an extra claw attack, and an extra tail attack, which is amazing. If you kill an enemy unit that has a wounds characteristic of 3 or more and wasn't a hero or monster, so think like heavy cavalry, add 1 to run and charge rolls or chariots. Add 1 to run and charge rolls for this unit for the rest of the battle. So then just guarantee your charges be outside of 3 inches. Cool, you got +1. Dragon goes in and murders things. If you could stack that up to where you got a couple of them and then you use the once per game run and charge, oh man, this dragon goes everywhere. And then finally, if the enemy unit has a wounds characteristic of 2 or less, you can heal 1 wound allocated to the unit, which does not seem like much, but that adds up over time because eventually you will run out of 5-up ward saves, right? Eventually, Gardas will die. Those Praetors are not, there are 3 wounds each, so it's 9 total. They're going to die. Hopefully at this point, you've killed a bunch of stuff and your humongous investment in points in Karazai is paying off. But you also have the Dracolines as another melee hammer. The Chariot can do some damage, and we know we have enough mortal wounds and chip damage here to add up to do some really nasty things. And again, this list comes in at, let's see how many points here. 1990 comes at 1,990 points. So you got a shot for a triumph. I like doing the +1 to wound. I feel like you can always get a lot out of that, but re-rolling charges is still great, especially on the Chariot or the big murder dragon. You need to guarantee getting in. Is this list perfect? No. No. The new battle tactics for this list from the new General's Handbook are hard. The battle plans where a lot of the objectives are in the middle of the board make it kind of hard. Stormcast aren't doing good to start with, but this is a great basis from which to learn the game and grow. You've got a little bit of everything, a lot of melee though. So you're playing more of an honest game of Warhammer. And things that I could change or swap out could be like Praetors normally aren't in this list for other people that have played it. So that is like 100 and some odd points. What, 150? They just went down in points. 130. People don't take the Heralder and the birds. My first thing I'm going to do is probably remove them and then take the new Stormcast Priest on Palin Quinn. That'll just regularly drop mortal wounds for me throughout the game. And then if she goes up in points, that's fine. She's 150 points right now. That'd be 170 points of models I'm removing. There's flexibility in this list. If you don't have Dracolines, not a lot of people do. You can have a couple Fulminators in there for 3 Dracolines. You could fit 2 Fulminators in probably with this list and find ways to finagle it. And you've got a very nice threat there. Again, it's more modular than you think. It's a lot of fun to play. Your games will always feel close until you either reach a break point of either Karazai kills everything or Karazai dies. And that's why it's kind of a Timmy list in that you've got a big, cool freaking murder dragon, right? It's why it's a Johnny list, and I've built in all these combos for all these ward saves and all these cool mortal wounds in order to make up for a Stormcast weakness of they don't have good mortal wound output and they can't withstand mortal wounds. And then it can be a spike list because if we get a GHB where the battle tactics are a bit easier for us, this army becomes oppressive. And with that, thank you for watching. Be nice, roll some dice, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.